Ladies and gentlemen, this is my privilege to introduce you to this topic, how art makes us equal. I would like to thank Dr. Guila-Clara to allow me to do this presentation and to invite me to this beautiful seminar, two-day seminar at Hedgel University. So my topic is on how art makes us equal. And I will come back to this notion of equality because for me, art is really linked to this notion of equity. And I would like to insist on the fact that yesterday, June 20, was World Refugee Day. So I will try to emphasize the work I'm doing with refugees. As I was saying, art makes us equal means that art, in fact, is a tool of equity. Equity, as you know, is a way to make us equal. And you will see that when you deal with mental health or with physical health, with refugees, art will really be a tool in order for them to access a notion of equality, of recovering mental health and physical health. Let me introduce a little bit about my education and training for you to know what will be my influencers. I'm coming from the world of theater, performing arts, as I took the training of the National Theatre Conservatory in France. Very quickly, I wanted to use this precious theater arts that I was trained in to use it to help victims of post-traumatic syndromes. And I had the chance to have Professor Elie Wiesel, the Nobel Peace Prize, as a PhD advisor, who helped me to go deeper with this notion on how art can help survivors to do the catharsis of what they felt while they were suffering. So after doing this conservatory, I wanted to do some performance. And for this, I needed to have some notions of budgets. And so I decided to do an MBA at ESSEC Business School in order to know how to create a budget and to be autonomous when I wanted to develop some theater performance. After crying over finances and accounting, I knew what was a budget, and I began in Paris to work on different performances, having some survivors on stage, and I've done my PhD with Elie Wiesel at Boston University. Well, working with Elie Wiesel was a Shoah survivor, was a real privilege. And after my PhD, I decided to travel a little bit to see if what I found out for Shoah survivors was something that I could apply for other people who were suffering post-traumatic syndromes. So I traveled in Rwanda, I traveled in Congo, I traveled in Bangladesh in order to really try to meet with people and doing some, workshops with them to see if what I found during my PhD was something applicable to other people. And in Congo, especially, I had the chance to meet Dr. Mukwege, with whom I worked with women victims of sexual harassment and sexual assaults. Harvard University invited me to teach a class, Theater and Human Rights, and I had the chance to work with my students who came with me on the ground and helping me working with survivors and creating some performances at the Avignon Theatre Festival together with the New York NYU. So what I taught at Harvard University, I met with professors such as Tal Ben-Shahar professor, who is a specialist of positive psychology, William Ury, who is working in the negotiation field. And they both told me that what I was doing as a theater artist to help others was very interesting, but from a coaching point of view, so more from an organizational point of view. And so they helped me deciding to become a coach. And so today I would say I'm making money from the coaching side, and I'm really involved in the humanitarian side, not making money there, but using the money I'm making with cooperation to dedicate that to multiple artistic projects in the humanitarian perspective. And I received this UNESCO Artist for Peace title for the many initiatives I did as an artivist, so both an artist and an activist on the field. My influencers, well, of course, I mentioned first my PhD advisor, Nobel Peace Prize, Elie Wiesel, who really believed that theater could be something intimate enough in order to transmit something very dear and proper to victims, and also in order for the audience to really be always sure that they will have a direct link with the victim. At the end of his life, he died in 2016. He was telling me that he was really afraid of how the Shoah was depicted so massively in, movies or any type of artistic representation that was really having a distortion with reality. And so Elie Wiesel was someone very important to me because he was also an advisor, for some political figures. So he was also, I would say, having this coaching approach that he advised me to also take. Malala Yousafzai, I had the chance to meet with her, was also a very big influencer to me after she survived Taliban's attack. And basically, she also believed that theater could be something extremely important for girls' education and girls to allow themselves to go to school. She was also allowing me to design some theater programs for Pakistani schools in order for girls to play role games, admitting to their family that they really wanted to go to schools, even if it was risky for them. Another very important influencer to me is Albert Nsengimana, who is a Rwanda survivor, so someone who survived the Rwanda genocide. And in his book, My Mother Killed Me, he described how his mother, who was Tutsi, how his mother, who was a Hutu, took all of her family because she married a Tutsi, putting to death. She was persuaded because of the genocide that Tutsi needed to die. So she really forced her husband together with her, her children to be put to death, and he miraculously survived. And so for me, Albert is an example of resilience. And we worked a lot on the art of oral transmission. And he wrote his book, and there was an oral form that he also wanted to use, and that was transmitted through this audiobook I did with him. And of course, Dr. Denise Mukwege, that I already mentioned, who really believe in theater, really believe in arts for those women to be repaired after traumas, especially when it comes to sexual assaults that women have in Congo. Working in the hospital of Panzi, Dr. Mukwege really worked together with famous artist and activist Eve Ensler, the author of the Vagina Monologue, who created the City of Joy, a city in Congo that unites women who have been victims and allow them through different forms of arts to survive. So I've been lucky enough to work there and to use theater with those women to really feel better in terms of mental and physical health. As you see under the picture, you have their books in French, and all those people allow me to record their book as a performer in order for the audio book exists. And this oral transmission is very important because this is also part of what theater can do, and that is also a way to transmit very important messages. So how art makes us equal? Let's go back to theater art, since this is the one that I know. So for me, theater arts is the art of becoming visible. Theater arts allow us to put in front of us, to make objects that is basically, etymologically speaking, what is put in front of our very eyes. So this is a way for us to also put our problems in front of us, our life in front of us. So the art of invisible become visible. And for survivors, and especially for refugees, the simple fact of allowing themselves to talk makes them more alive, because suddenly they can talk about something, and because they are talking, the thing exists. And usually when you do not have this capacity of talking, it means that the person is really in a very bad mental and physical health. So the art of becoming visible is really a way for me that theater art could help making us equal, especially when it comes to refugees. And the art of becoming part of a war. When you're a refugee, it's all about the notion of belonging and being integrated into something. Well, for me, theater is also a way to create something like a score where a person will fit. And the notion of fitting again is also something that could be linked to theater. So becoming part of a whole is, for me, another dimension that is critical when you're trying to study the notion of equality link to this notion of art. So theater arts allow us to reduce inequality by allowing people to speak. By speaking, they make things actually concretely becoming. So the notion of speaking is, of course, very linked to the catharsis that is necessary for victims and survivors to heal. So speaking is extremely important and is the basis of theater. Art is also linked, theater art is linked to the movement. So the art of moving is also something that theater offers. And this will also help survivors or victims to reintegrate their own body. We will not in theater get focused on the dance move, so they will have no intention of artistic intention the way you will find it in dance, but the art of moving will still be something existing in theater because of daily move. So the simple fact of walking again in a certain way, as if you were this character, as if you were this animal. So the simple fact of asking a survivor or refugee to move as if you were someone else or something else will create a reappropriation of the person with his or her body. The art of inventing, and this notion of inventing another life, is really linked to the capacity of imagination that is necessary also for the healing. So this art of inventing another life is very important. The art of becoming someone else. So it linked with imagination, but it's also linked with embodiment of someone else. So you can decide to be free because you're just getting embodiment of another character than yourself. Or it could be also the art of becoming you, but becoming you with another chance of seeing you in another context, for example. And theater is also, if you are taking it as part of a writing exercise, so writing theater, writing little sceneries or little scenes or skits, for example, is also an art of planification. So an art of doing a beginning and an end, and then to embody the character that we imagine. So it's an art of planning future for me. And for those refugees who are completely not in possession of their life because they feel that people decided for them, that they have been passive victim of people deciding to basically do war and to move them around. So the art of finding again this capacity of choosing a future is really linked with this notion of theater to recover a better mental and physical health. I would like now to give you some concrete exercises that I've done in Bangladesh, Rwanda, and Congo. Those exercises are here only to inspire you and to give you more concrete ideas of what to do working with refugees. So in Bangladesh at Cox's Bazar, I was really working with refugees with the notion of object embodiment. So allowing yourself to become something. So I remember that we were planning to have them becoming a chair or to have them becoming a table. This notion was very interesting because when there were the chair, when there were the table, they were just basically describing what they were seeing, describing how they was used. And by doing this, basically you could see their body trying to change the shape and becoming actually the table or the chair. So this notion of embodiment of the object was allowing them to even be more free because their body could change and being in the imagination, being something else. Very interesting in terms of imagination also, because you could see that they were having some laughs, for example, regarding on how a chair could be used by thinking on how many people sit and what is the perspective of the chair. So this was something very interesting, and following the mood of the people, refugees I was working with, it was a sad chair. It was a very lightning and joyful chair. So this, I call it the art of body reintegration, because this was, without planning it, a way for them to get freer with the body by allowing them to follow another logic, which was the object logic. And again, etymologically, object is to be put in front. So trying to embody another life that is a life, inert life, will allow them to actually becoming more alive. In Rwanda, when I was working with survivors of the genocide, I was working with people who had problem to talk, who basically stayed muted or say one or two words. So basically we worked on trying to have their voice again by doing some small singing exercise, allowing some vowels to come. And so here I use a lot of games that were musical games to echo one another, inventing the birds singing or inventing some new languages the person could use in order to transmit some emotions. And we are calling that talking into a different language. So the person has to use a different language and producing sounds in order to have some new references. Sometimes I was giving an indication like you have to use only the sound A, for example. And so all of these were forcing the person to use all the consonances. Or on the contrary, I was saying you have to only use vowels. And so this would really help the person trying to find again the strengths to have the color of their language with vowels. So I call that the art of speaking reintegration. What was interesting is that slowly intonation would come back. So having voice coming up when it was question, for example, having voice being louder when it was exclamation, and others. In Congo, working with women, I made them write a letter to the to the person who perpetrated this crime of sexual assault. So basically, by writing a letter to this person who dare rape them, for example, or to dare hurt them, basically it was a very important act of having them accepted what happened and also accept to reintegrate their daily life. This work that we have done in Congo, writing this letter and then interpret it, was very, very difficult but you will find a beautiful example in the book that was published recently, that is Further Than Tears by Tatiana Mukanire Bandaliere, who is the head of this movement of women victims, survivors of sexual assaults in Congo. Results in data were very interesting. So in Bangladesh, for example, we have 95% of people who took the workshop who said that they were feeling more alive because of trying to embody this exercise of objects. Of course, this workshop training was more than a month, so people had the chance to come and really get an evolution. In Rwanda, we had 97% people who said they were able to do talking again, doing sound again, especially when it comes to transmission. And in Congo, we had like 100% of women saying they felt more confident after doing this terrible exercise of writing a letter to the person who dared to rape them or to hurt them sexually. And so they were saying that they were more ready to face life again. So I will finish very quickly with recommendation for arts to reduce inequality. I'd like to mention the UNESCO Art Lab program, very nice program, and that is really a way to discover the work of artivism, which is the combination between artist and activism. I would recommend, of course, to develop network, and I would like, of course, to thank again people in the Jamel Art Lab, you know, who's doing a wonderful work. I'm talking, of course, about Niels and Nisha. And together we developed for the last World Art Day forum of many people on this notion of art and human dignity. And so this was also a way to be more public about what we all do. And of course, Dr. Vicky Karku was part of this entire World Art Day. And the goal, and that's why I thank her so much, is really to unite our strength in order for us to really create a bigger community, for us to be more knowing each other. And especially if we are in the same country working with the same population, to know each other and try to unite and exchange methodology. Understand the importance of the theatricality of the healing process. When I say theatricality, is really trying to always have this notion of trying to represent healing process for the survivors. So trying to put the process in front of their very eyes, make it visible. This is what I want to say by theatricality. And then last recommendation, but not least, mental and physical health indicators should be linked to a staging of the individual who feels better in order for him or her to discover his or her own sense of belonging to humanity. So what I mean is, I really think that letting people know that they feel better, not only because they say it, but showing them by having, you know, images or representation, staging of what happened in their body, they can do themselves a little staging, or they can watch someone who could pretend being themselves recovering. But I feel like mental and physical health indicators would be only fully known if they are embodied by someone be representing something while the person, survivors, is watching. There is a process of healing that is very interesting and that need to come, I would say, through the process of watching. So those are my recommendations. I thank you very much for watching this video, and I wish you all the very best with the rest of the day.